Jessica Dwyer here for JoBlo Horror, and I am at Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights with the weekend apparently, and we are here on opening night to go through all the haunts. It's going to be insane. Hopefully we make it out alive, and I'm going to bring you some images and some cool videos from this experience so you can share in the terror and horror of Halloween Horror Nights.
Halloween Horror Nights returned to Universal Studios in Hollywood for the first week in September, officially kicking off the Halloween season. This was my first visit to the event, and I was beyond excited, for it was a packed house, or should I say, haunted house. Universal went above and beyond with a mind-boggling 8 haunts, ranging from classics from the Universal Archive, like Dracula, the Wolfman, and the Mummy, all in one haunt, 80s fare like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, modern classic Halloween, to modern pop with The Weeknd having a haunt themed around his music, which runs to the bizarre and dark. This was also the first year that the theme park had Death Eaters running around the wizarding world of Harry Potter, interacting with visitors while the dark magic side took over Hogwarts' buildings and the streets around them. So join me while I give you the rundown of the haunts and some pointers to help you survive the night. Let's try and make it out alive at Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights.
So far we've been accosted by 5, 6, 7 clowns with chainsaws, a couple of Lovecraftian creatures, and we just walked in and we're dealing with this right now. So far Halloween Horror Nights is pretty damn awesome, and we haven't even done a house yet, so let's get going.
So let's start this off with tip number 1. You want to get the express pass. Trust me, depending on the day, the ticket to get into the park for Halloween Horror Nights can range from $70 to over $100 standard. But that's just the standard ticket for Halloween Horror Nights, and also means you don't get into the park until it's 7 p.m. when Halloween Horror Nights starts. Some of the lines for these houses can be long. You can have an hour of your night easily eaten alive by one line. The line for the Weekend house was easily a couple hundred people when I walked by it, and it didn't get less throughout the night. The express pass is your best bet, and yes, it does make the ticket price go up. Depending on the day you choose, it can be over $300. But again, if you're going to the park for Halloween Horror Nights and you want to get to see all the houses and not have to wait in line all night and only get to see 2 of them, the park closes at 1 a.m., you want the express pass. This also gets you access to the rides as well with that priority access. If you want to save money and time, your best bet is to go during a Thursday or a Sunday. Halloween Horror Nights doesn't happen Monday through Wednesday, except for Halloween this year, which falls on a Monday. Friday and Saturday are the most expensive days of the week. $239 is the cheapest you'll find per ticket for the express pass during October for Halloween Horror Nights. But again, this is 8 haunts and includes the park rides. The houses. As I said, there are 8 houses this year. Halloween 1978, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, The Weekend After Hours Nightmare, Terror Tram, The Horrors of Bloomhouse, Universal Monsters Legends Collide, La Llorona, The Weeping Woman, Scarecrow the Reaping, and Universal Horror Hotel. That large number is why you really want that express pass to experience all of them. Here's a brief rundown of each house. Halloween 1978 is the first time the classic slasher has had a house at the park. Basically, the house puts you into the original movie, recreating the key parts of the first film and having you come face to face with Michael Myers. The recreations and the actors are awesome, with my favorite probably being Dr. Loomis and the poor guy who was Michael having to repeatedly act like he was getting shot and falling to the ground. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is not new to the Halloween Horror Nights roster, but I have to say this is one of the top houses for me. Like Halloween 78, this house recreates all the major points of the film, and you walk into the big top from the movie and encounter all the clowns, their creatures, and their victims. This includes the chaos that is the police station and all that unfortunate cotton candy. These costumes look amazing, and the entire experience was great. Scarecrow the Reaping was an unexpectedly gory and awesome house. The story behind this one is that the scarecrows have come to life to exact revenge on the humans who are destroying the land. Death by corn, hanging entrails, and killer crows made this one really grisly and disturbing. It's one of my favorites.
So we've done Halloween and we did the scarecrows. That was probably the best haunted house I've been to in a while. Death by Corn. The Halloween house was fantastic. Can't say enough about that one. Really well done. Very creepy. Very good use of live actors too. So can't say enough about Halloween either. So far, Universal Horror Nights is not disappointing. So come.
La Llorona, the Weeping Woman, takes place within the confines of a church and a barn. The story is that of the myth of La Llorona, who drowned her children and then killed herself. The haunt is another disturbing one, with dead children and La Llorona coming out of the shadows and attacking you as you go through, including a giant La Llorona eating a child. The horrors of Blumhouse combine two fantastic properties from Blumhouse Productions, Freaky and The Black Phone. Entering Blumhouse Video, you discover that these are the only two movies you can rent. Going through the world of Freaky, you enter into The Black Phone, where you are greeted by the grabber after walking along a hallway with missing children's posters. Yet again, the creep factor is high with this, and you do have to make it past a sleeping grabber in his kitchen. One of my favorites was, of course, a classic, and that was Universal Monsters Legends Collide. The classic monsters, the Wolfman, the Mummy, and Dracula, are all trying to get the Amulet of Anubis, which will allow its owner to be free of their curse. The house starts with the Alucard, spell it backwards, trading company. The dulcet tones of Renfield can be heard, and then he appears. The bat calls are full of Egyptian works, Dracula's coffin, and the mummy's tomb, eventually leading to Larry Talbot in mid-transformation. The house is fairly lengthy and continues through into a museum section with multiple encounters and scenarios, eventually ending with one last great scare. It's a worthy tribute to some of the greats in horror. Terror Tram is unique in the park, as it not only showcases film properties during the haunt, but has an ongoing boogeyman in the form of Hollywood Harry, the homicidal clown. Also known as Koodles, Harry has been terrorizing the studio since 2016, and with this return, he's joined forces with the films Nope and Us. Terror Tram goes along the back lot of Universal, and this experience really takes advantage of the Bates Motel sets and many other sets in the back lot. Harry's disturbing and creepy and pops up out of nowhere with a lot of friends. This one's special as you are actually getting to see the real sets used in Nope.
We just got off the Terror Tram that if you are afraid of clowns, you may have a problem. Fantastic. Hugely long. They take you out really far away from the main area because you are on the tram, and they also have you go through the Bates Motel. Things are afoot at the Bates Motel. It is a long tram ride. It does take a while, and it closes earlier than any of the other events here. So be aware of that when you're planning. So I will be back with more stuff. See ya.
With two more houses to speak about and the mention of Terror Tram, now's a good time for tip number 2. You are going to do a lot of walking. It just so happened that the night of the opening, California was going through a heat wave. It was fully dark, and after 8 p.m., it was nearly 100 degrees and wouldn't go below the low to mid 90s that evening. And you walk everywhere. There are actually 2 levels of park you have to go through, and while there are giant escalators, you are still going to be walking, and it will be warm. Wear good walking shoes and dress for heat, especially this year. I can't stress enough the walking. Universal Horror Hotel is a take on the H.H. Holmes Building of Horrors, the true life serial killer. Here, the story has been transplanted into Hollywood in the 20s and the early days of the land of movies. An heiress marries Max DeVille, a man who uses her money to create a luxury hotel with a lot of literal skeletons in the closet. Max is disfigured after an accidental fire kills his wife. Max is found out and sentenced to the gas chamber for his horrific deeds, but not before he promises to come back and stalk everyone once again. Horror Hotel is a surprise as a unique story without a film property behind it. A lot of thought and content was created to back up the story and myth of the attraction. The final house on our list is the Weekend After Hours Nightmares, which was a bit of a surprise for me. I didn't know what to expect out of this, but this house wound up being a contender for my fave of the park. Firstly, it's a big house, and it is filled with very creepy characters, images, and sounds. The journey is through the mind of the Weekend, and I think it's also a bit of a slam to the quote-unquote Hollywood ideal in general, as it has ravers and club partiers all slowly reverting to monsters, as well as horrifying plastic surgery gone wrong. Also, the Weekend himself is slowly transformed, ultimately becoming a lizard-like creature, as if to say this lifestyle has brought him back to his lizard brain or basis instincts. Not only is it a fantastic haunt, it also is a nice little commentary you may or may not pick up on while screaming your guts out. Since the Weekend also has a bar for drinks at the park, now let's talk about tip number 3. Get the souvenir collectible cup. There's a very cool Halloween Horror Nights 2022 red plastic collectible cup that you can get at the park for around $20. While this may sound expensive, it also gets you unlimited refills while you're at the park at any other food cart or restaurant that is selling them. You will want to hydrate, and you will need to because of all that walking I told you about earlier. This item is worth it, and it's also a nice keepsake that even has a handle so you can attach it to your backpack for easy carrying. If you plan on spending 2 days at Universal, you can actually bring it back with you and get refills again. The signs say it's $11.99 to do the extra day refills, but no one ever asked me for my proof of receipt when I got my refills the first day, but keep it just in case. Tip number 4. If you are planning on staying till closing, be aware some of the houses do close at different times. Tram actually has its final go-through at around 11:40 p.m. the day I was there, and this is reasonable as it is one of the longest experiences and the tram takes time to return back to the main park. I'd suggest doing that earlier in the evening to get it out of the way as you really don't want to miss it. The photo op with Norman Bates and the Psycho House alone is worth it, and it's like 4 houses or more in one. There wasn't a lot of signage to help you get around and find some of the houses that first night. I'm not certain if they added more, but it can be a little overwhelming and hard to find some of the spots at first. There are upper and lower lots, and both have houses in them. Don't be afraid to ask directions from the staff. There are a lot of park staff around, and everyone is really helpful. There are tons of collectibles specific to the event, and you will spend money. But the collectibles are high quality and really nice. For example, the Frankenstein Studio Screamers bucket, which is a foot tall and comes with a lanyard so you can carry them around at the park. A lot of this merch is specific to the year and the event, so that adds a nice level of special to it. I'm already seeing things popping up on eBay marked up. Universal Halloween Horror Nights lives up to the hype. It's like a giant horror movie convention on steroids. It was a sea of black t-shirts as fellow horror fans came to worship at the studio where it all started, for Dracula, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein. It's fun, it's scary, it's magical, and that's not just the Harry Potter area. It's the artistry of the movies brought to life in terrifying reality by the people who do it best. I can't state enough how if you are a horror fan, you need to go to this at least once in your life. Although, you never know, that one time may be the last time.
Go ahead of me so I can get you in the